And welcome to Nerd Stalker. I am Adolfo Ferranda at Nerd Stalker and at A Ferranda on Twitter. Welcome to another Tech Week podcast and show hangout here with my co-host.
Gloria, aka Social Greg, on Twitter for the Nerd Stalker Media Network. So how's the week in tech going for you, man?
Oh, exciting! A lot of crazy ups and downs as we'll get into here. Good to talk to you again, Greg.
Yeah, beautifully glad to talk to you. So I don't know where I got that, but yeah. But anyway, let me lead you into the first story, man. What's this productivity slumps after 40 to 50 hour work weeks for people? I can't believe it.
Is that on top of my list? Nope. Apple poaches a major Tesla engineer.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You are, my friend. Oh, you are. So thanks to Boy Genius Report for this one. They say when there's smoke, there's fire. And when it comes to rumors surrounding Apple's alleged plans to develop an electric car, there's a whole lot of smoke, following up a recent report that Apple is already scouting locations to test whatever type of mysterious vehicle it's working on. Reuters is now reporting that Apple has hired yet another notable auto industry veteran to its fledgling and secretive car development team. According to the report, Apple recently hired Jamie Carlson, a former senior engineer at Tesla with a background in autonomous technologies. According to Carlson's LinkedIn profile, his tenure at Tesla involved managing the team responsible for Tesla's autopilot software. Prior to that, Carlson spent a few years at Gentex, not to be confused with Gentex, where he helped test software related to a next-generation automotive vision system. Carlson, it's worth noting, is just the latest in a long line of intriguing hires Apple has made in recent months. So, it goes on and on. Apple has shifted so much stuff towards its auto division that senior managers and other divisions are complaining about the loss of talent in their teams. And yours truly is hearing the same thing. I have some insider knowledge here that people have shared with me that some existing Apple employees are trying to get on this particular project, and they've actually stopped, from what I hear, the allowing internal employees to jump onto this already foolish project. So I typically don't like to report on rumors like this of unannounced projects, but this one, I'm just getting too many data signals where this is, I'm fairly positive this is an actual thing that's happening. Everyone's already reporting on it. It seems like an actual go that's going to happen in some sense.
Well, there was a report earlier, right, about Apple looking into potential test sites for their autonomous vehicle, right? So it seems pretty real. I mean, I don't know where you could hide that eventually, right? Because like a car test area.
Yeah,
I don't know. Unless you're the government, you probably can't hide that.
Yeah, I hear you, man. So Greg, Amazon, what's going on?
Wow, you see my screen there? Amazon this week, can you believe it, announced that they'll stop accepting Flash ads on September 1st. But anyone surprised out there? I don't think too many are, but Flash has had a terrible year, as reported here by VentureBeat's Emil Protolinsky. Thank you very much, Emil, for that. Google started converting Flash ads to HTML earlier this year, and YouTube ditched Flash for HTML video by default last month. So, I think it's just they said it's in response to a lot of the browsers really making the shift as well. But you're a dev guy, right? Tell me your thoughts about this. It sounds like with Flash, it'll just never go away, but it'll just be not as relevant, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's still really pervasive. I'm curious how it's going to be replaced in the context that it's being used. But it seems to be really problematic and has historically been so. So I don't know. I've been hearing this argument for, it seems like over a decade now or something, and Flash is still around. So I guess we'll see.
Yeah, it was always lit. Well, way back when, I think when we first started the show, where Adobe announced that they'll stop supporting mobile, right, with Flash. and that just sent shockwaves because we were I think in 2011 we were riding the high tide of all the mobile phones, the iPhone and everything.
Yeah.
And that just sent shockwaves out, right? And not really understanding what the implications were to both,
or the implications too.
well,
Yeah.
and I'm the one that got more sleep than you last night. So,
Yeah.
anyway.
No, but to your point and to this topic too, as of late, I haven't been very happy with Adobe's releases in general. There seems to be this trend of like really bloated software, monthly subscriptions for their applications now, and as well, it's a bit off topic with Flash being sort of a browser plugin, but it's sort of the language, in the culture of what seemed the message, and the story of what's coming out of Adobe. I think they should sort of streamline it all, including their applications and their obviously their browser plugins and add-ons, whatever, to some extent, because they're starting to, I don't know, show their age, so to speak, and it'd be nice for them to sort of jump on the lean, quick, open source, type of bandwagon. I don't know if that makes any sense.
Oh, no, totally. I think they've been milking those tech udders for such a long time that I'm getting kind of tired of the brand in a way, So anyway, let's move on to New York. Tech sector employs 40% women and 21% minorities in New York, huh?
Yeah. Let me get this. Let's see here, because the graphs are ever essential in this particular story.
They're always essential.
And what's really nice here. Here we go.
Cool.
Can you see that? Yeah. Beautiful.
Yep.
So thanks to Sam Moshkovich of Ars Technica for this one. Companies like Google, Apple, Intel, and Yahoo have been, relatively forthright about their diversity numbers, particularly as of late, and that's been really refreshing. Thanks to the data made available. But this seems to be like just on a company by company basis that it's been telling. So thanks to this New York Federal Reserve Bank and the Center for Urban Future, they published a more industry-wide report, and it's pretty broad, parsing 2014 employment numbers at all companies who use technology as their core business strategy. So it's kind of a better picture of what's happening, So we see, as you mentioned, a really good increase in and I have too. I've firsthand seen this females working within the tech industry, which is really refreshing to see. Unfortunately, what you see below, is the sort of distribution of employment by race. When you look at that, you can see far and away that those labeled as white have a grossly disproportionate amount of representation within the industry. You see Asian seems to be like in the second place-ish area, and Hispanic, I am the unicorn, so to speak, and what is called black in this particular thing is even a bit less. So we're almost about even there. So as a Hispanic man myself, this has always been particularly troublesome for me, because it's not like I don't believe I'm any smarter than anyone else. I just think I've been fortunate enough to have opportunities to learn, and I it's a bit of a rant here, but I think once you get into a position, if you're lucky enough to get into a job, you for the most part you greatly learn on the job. I think there seems to be this misconception that people learn all of this in school and in college, and I don't think that seems to be the case. So
no, I think that's changed these days. Here's Social Gray going on his rant about education. I was just having a conversation with a colleague the other day at the market research firm that I consult with, and we were talking about education, and I told him my background, BS this, MA that, all that crap. But I noticed is that there's so much, I would call, what would you call, adaptive learning out there, meaning that you could go to YouTube to find this. You could go to our favorite lynda.com to go learn that applied learning, that's the word I wanted to use. Applied learning is much more higher important these days. It seems like getting the job done, no matter the bottom line, right? And if you get the job done and you have a high school diploma versus a PhD, there's something to say about that. But, and I think it's also apparent when I was talking to my colleague, I thought it was very funny that now when you look at degrees and you look at people coming out of school and in the more traditional roles, traditional job titles. In fact, we're going to go to some interesting job titles coming up in the segment a little bit ahead of us, that they were saying like, well, master's is now a minimum entry point. And I was going like, wow, that's interesting. That's like perpetuating the educational inequity system, right? But anyway, that's my rant. I just wanted to share that with you because I think I agree with you.
Yeah, and just to piggyback on that as well, I've heard people, especially developers and tech people in technology, and perhaps I don't know if this is translating to other verticals in terms of business, but they've been talking how they're greatly seeing more and more people without college degrees, period, who are coming with high school diplomas and who've just learned this stuff, right? Because a lot of this is freely on the internet, and a lot of this stuff is free, open source software, etc. And if you get proficient in something, you're a valuable asset. There's a deficiency in that type of talent. There's not an oversupply. And the cost of college is becoming ever more and more out of reach for more and more, I will say, Americans in general. Speaking for the United States people. So the return on investment and in my opinion, for a college degree seems to be diminishing, I would say, by the day. We'll see if this trend changes. But that seems to be, in my opinion, that seems to be the way things are going.
Oh, absolutely. And the accelerator program that we're pretty close to, Founderspace, it kind of summed that up to me when I looked at the last class that I gave a quick talk at. It seems like EA is being replaced by the accelerator programs. That's my feeling. I'd be totally off base, but that's what I'm seeing. I'm feeling. Why get an MBA? Start your company, get accelerated, and do it. And get your accelerator MBA. So,
I mean, the sooner you can do it, as you say, I think the better. Because
absolutely,
that's how you get the experience.
Yep. All right, let's move on.
Woo-hoo.
What do we got here?
So, Greg, what do we got next? We got
web traffic.
Traffic for the world's biggest publishers. Tell me about this.
Well, I got a perspective on this, so you can see my screen. Yeah, I always have a perspective, of course. So the web traffic reported by Business Insider Laura O'Reilly for the world's biggest publishers dropped dramatically in April, and no one can agree why. So apparently BBC, Daily Mail, New York Times, HuffPo, BuzzFeed, the famous BuzzFeed, Fox News, and many others reported that they lost traffic from March to April, according to data from SimilarWeb. And they lost tens of millions of visitors, while others lost multiple millions. And the findings are also tallied with data from Millward Brown's Compete. So, and I noticed that actually on one of the websites that I kind of do content management on. But there was something that happened in the March to April timeframe, and I don't know if you guys would realize that, but let me stop sharing here, because it's totally uninteresting to just look at text.
But I was loving the comedy ad on the right column so much.
Thank you.
Flash.
I ad-libbed. Yeah, that was a flash. Anyway, I noticed that in March to April, that Facebook did some house cleaning of dead accounts. I don't know if anyone really knows that. On one of the accounts that I managed, we lost about 5% of our total fans due to that. Now, I don't know if that's like robot traffic or whatever, but when I looked at that, we lost a lot of referral traffic along the way too. So I'm not quite sure exactly that's correlated. Facebook vehemently denies the correlation. Of course they have to, but it was something that I noticed in the March to April timeframe. I mean, did you notice anything in some of the things that you were doing?
No, I haven't. This is the first I've heard of this.
Yeah, but I think let's talk about a bigger issue. I think they refer in this article to Google actually changing their algorithm at one point and changing web traffic. Right?
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, the two biggest drivers, as you know, of web traffic is Facebook and Google, probably.
Absolutely. And so once you become a behemoth like that, you have now the power to move traffic, right?
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
And you kind of wonder, no one's owning up to it, and why would someone own up to it? Because they would be trashed immediately on the public web scale. But what do you feel about some of this kind of? Do you feel like traffic is really? I mean, it's the only measure we have in a way. I mean, we're trying to come out with these other measures, but we're kind of stuck with that kind of game. I feel, we're always measuring something by traffic or by some number. So, your website's better than my website because, I have 10 million uniques versus your 9,999,000 uniques. But I don't know. Do you have any perspectives on that you want to share?
Well, yeah. I mean, as many of you out there know, and Greg knows for sure, is that type of quantitative data is all we have, is essential right now. I'm not sure what the future is exactly gonna how we're gonna measure this kind of stuff and interest too. But I know that the qualitative data is also very, very important from a user experience perspective. Although you're getting X number of uniques in great numbers, and the duration seems to be long. Are people enjoying their experience? And, is it of value to them, and why? And, what portion of the content, let's just say it's content, whatever it is, are they exactly looking at is meaningful to them, and why? How can they articulate that? That kind of stuff is sort of invaluable too, Yeah,
I agree. I mean, I think they'll have to come up with a new simple way to do all that. Right now it's very complicated. You could go to multiple sources and find that, as you said. User experience measurement is really interesting area, with a lot of the eye tracking devices that they have out there. To find out where people are going and some of the hotspot markings that Google has.
Right.
But
I think good old fashioned talking to people too is, I mean, that's old school user research is invaluable type of stuff,
Yeah, absolutely. So I thought I wanted to kind of turn that piece into something to just have a discussion with you about, because I know you tweet a lot about UI and a lot of the influences that UI have. So anyway, let's move on. The plunge of the Dow Nasdaq. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, so I've been pretty concerned lately, as of late, with the market, and I've been watching for a while in general, and we typically don't touch on this financial type of stuff. But I know I read recently that I think today or something, that Apple was down 5% or something like that, which is a huge major drop. And there are all these different speculations, and I've been wondering when all this American borrowing of money and printing of money is going to bite us in the ass. And it appears to be possibly coming home to roost. I know in the media lately, people have been, or the media has been trying to spin it as the devaluation of the Chinese yuan or whatever, or and blaming it on that, and that may be in part to play, but I think for the most part, there's a lot of different factors at play here, right? So U.S. stocks closed deep in the red on Friday as global growth concerns accelerated selling pressures, as you see here on CNBC, and that pushed the Dow and the Nasdaq into correction territory. The major averages had their biggest trade volume of the year and posted their worst week in 4 years. So this is a significant decline. And so a lot of the different speculation seems to be also that China's having a tough time creating supply, apparently, and they can't even get enough employees. Their demographic seems to be going down in terms of population. Oddly enough, you hear of overpopulation, right? But when you look at it from a future generational type of thing, it's just a smaller generation is what's happening. And they're having more of a challenge getting rural people into the cities to do the work that they need. But at the same time, too, you got to wonder about demand, because if they're slowing, if the dollar's devaluating here and currency in other places, will there be the demand? Because in China, there's been such an overgrowth of production. We always talk on Stalker about like all the stuff coming from China, right? And manufacturing and stuff, that they have overbuilt manufacturing plants, and all this stuff, overbuilt homes as well. Real estate market there has been in a super big bubble as well, which popped recently too. So now they're sort of stagnating, and that's not good for China. Obviously, and they're trying to generate something, but that's the Chinese picture. Then here in the United States, we have a lot of different factors going for us. We have no manufacturing, employees, our productivity hasn't went up, but we've correlated that also that although there's been an increase in productivity for the past, in the pie chart for decades now in the United States, the pay has not increased really to any extent for the middle class. So we can't buy more stuff, right? So what's the point of becoming even more productive? We can't buy more stuff from China. So it's kind of a vicious cycle that's happening right now. And it's a bit of a perfect storm, in my opinion, I'm starting to see. And I'm growing increasingly concerned. So I just want to put this out there for people to have a look on their own. Don't take our financial advice by any means. Do your own research. But it's something to probably keep an eye on.
No, I talked, one of the interviews that I had a few weeks ago, Sean Murphy of AndyOS, and we have a piece coming up in a little bit on that. I was talking to Sean about that, about, does it feel like a bubble like it was in 2000, and that was pretty bad, right?
I hate that. I hate that term, though, bubble, because it's a bit of a generality, but
I know, but it's very explicit,
Yeah. It resonates with people.
Anyway, Sean was giving a perspective is that as far as the United States, maybe even Silicon Valley, San Francisco, and as far as the United States, and probably Silicon Valley, San Francisco, SF Tech is more in this kind of model, but he felt that as long as innovation continues to happen, and that 1 out of 10 companies make some money for the VCs, and the VCs could pump more money back into the ecosystem, he felt that was going to continue. So maybe the swings may not be as dramatic as like we saw in 2000. Not to say that there won't be a little bit of a correction like we're seeing right now. Now, another perspective he got me to think about also was that as we're kind of shifted away from these apps, which is more software centric, to more of these wearables, IoT devices, the hardware ecosystem's coming up. So now we're tied to China more closely that way than the software ecosystem, right? And so that was an interesting perspective we were talking about in Uber, when we were going somewhere on the way back to somewhere. And that got me thinking about, he's absolutely right, is that if it's hardware related, we're tied to China a lot more closely. If it's software related, we're tied very loosely to China. We have our own market now. Of course, we'd love to sell things into their 1 billion plus people market, but at the same time, our market is localized at the same time. So I don't know. It's just something to think about.
I guess to play devil's advocate to that point, is that the VC money is going into startups. Startups are traditionally very small teams, sometimes a handful of people total. So, and then the money that they generate goes back to the VC, right, or something like that, possibly. What I'm not seeing is that increase in jobs being created. If anything, it's sort of be a streamlining of jobs. The money seems to be concentrated to fewer and fewer type of thing. And actually innovation supposedly on a trend as a whole has been decreasing. So the trend has been like flat and low. Apparently we need more innovation, whatever that means. From this particular report, but good points, I think, all around.
I mean, are you saying that the money isn't trickling down to poor blog guys like us?
Voodoo economics trickled down.
Anyway, I love it. I love messing with you like that. Anyway, let's go back to
Best wearables.
to school. Yeah,
Speaking of wearables.
Oh, speaking of wearables, I love wearables myself, but yeah, there was an article that just caught my eye recently, and I'll get this thing shared in a brief moment with you guys.
Excited to hear.
Here we go. Yeah,
there it is.
There it is. So it's back to school. Yeah, at least for the United States, it is. I think the rest of the world, they're already in school, or they're taking summer vacation. One way if you're in Japan.
Back to school. Woo-hoo.
But thanks to Digital Trends for this kind of quick summary, Andy Boxall. The best wearable technology for students. Arguably, but we'll go through the list anyway. The act. If you want to watch and you want a cheap watch, you don't have to get the Apple Watch. You could get this little tracker you call Withings Activity Pop for $150. So, that's not bad. I mean, in a relative world here, guys, $150 isn't too bad, So you can look at their video there. And then Apple Watch Sport, of course, has a 350 version. You could get something that tracks your activity that way. So, that's kind of cool. But I love this one. The Xiaomi Band. The Xiaomi Mi Band. Taken.
It looks like a really bad Photoshop job, by the way.
Yeah, Livermore. It looks like it was all the windmills, but apparently you could buy it at the company's online store for just $15, and it's a great activity tracker, they claim. So there are alternatives. A Jawbone up to $80 is another wearable tech for your student and child. This was another commentary. I'll go ahead and unshare this whole thing because we're getting kind of tired of it. But it's interesting how back to school now is like getting into this wearable tech stuff. So now, it isn't about the lunch pails. It isn't about the crayons. It's about what cool wearable tech can you get for your kids so they could tell their friends to get their parents to buy those wearable tech items.
Yeah.
You can relate to that, right, my friend?
Yeah. Touching on this wearables thing, I went to a showcase recently. I forget what it was called, Active Mobile or something like that. And they really had an interesting perspective, an interesting talk. It was almost the other way around, how we've been conditioned as of late to consider this wearables thing, right? Wearables, where you're carrying the sensor so it sees you in this. But now there's another trend that other technologies are taking another approach where instead of you having to wear it, they're aware of you. So your environment is aware of you, for instance. So let's take the Microsoft Kinect, for instance, right? It can see you. It can tell how hot you are, your temperature, because it's got infrared sensor. It can tell if you're standing, sitting, doing all this stuff, and could give you your blood rate just by looking at you, or what blood pressure and all this type of data, and you're not wearing a thing. So this is the type of trend that can be happening even at work, because it's legal for them to have cameras at you and sensors as well. So you can place sensors around your office, your home, and you know whether your employees are standing, sitting, moving, walking. So it's an interesting counterpoint to this wearables thing, which could work in conjunction with your wearables, you know what I mean, to give even more data possibly, or it could replace wearables altogether. Who knows? If your entire city has sensors all over it, as creepy as that sounds, I could see that happening, right? But it's just an interesting sort of counterpoint to, or another viewpoint of what's happening. But yeah, back to school, yay, watches.
No, that's a great viewpoint actually, because there's the infrared technology for heat sensing has been out there for years, and that could go into a camera. Wow. Yeah, I guess the common thread of that is the big data scientists and engineers. They'll have jobs forever.
Oh, yeah. Well, nothing is forever.
That goes without saying. Yeah, that's just a fancy name for other things that we've called it in other years, actually. But anyway, let's go on. Wow. I love it. Let's go to speed round. Speed round. All right. Okay, let's go to the productivity slumps chapter. 40 to 50 hours a week.
Yeah. So thanks to Boing Boing Rob Bashiza, as you can see here, productivity does slump after 40 to 50 hours of work a week. This is it's the historically emergent, as you see there, standard for good reasons, because the quality of work simply goes to shit, as he says, when people work too much. Burning out workers destroys their personal lives and gets nothing in return, writes Facebook co-founder Dustin Moskovich. Many people believe that weekends and the 40-hour work week are some sort of great compromise between capitalism and hedonism, but that's not historically accurate. They're actually the carefully considered outcome of profit-maximizing research by Henry Ford in the early part of the 20th century. Go figure. He discovered that you could actually get more output out of people by having them work fewer days and fewer hours. Since then, other researchers have continued to study this phenomenon, including in more modern industries like game development. The research is clear. Beyond 40 to 50 hours per week, the marginal returns from additional work decrease rapidly and quickly become negative. So this is something that I've been checking on this trend for quite some time. And when you read about things like, I forget his name, the CEO of 37 Signals, who wrote a book about sort of the mobile workforce and how like offices are sort of a passé trend, meetings are a passé trend type of thing, a waste of time to the most part, meetings for meetings. And these old school sort of trends of going to work Monday through Friday, working late hours, beating the boss in, staying later than the boss, you know, that kind of this. I think this is non-productive sort of old school mentality that's not serving productivity whatsoever. And what about you, Greg?
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, of course. No. Well, I think in San Francisco you see that a lot here. It's the flexible work style, flexible, and that's probably brought on by a lot of the tech startups.
Yeah. I would say in other industries, perhaps like finance, law, and stuff. A lot of these, maybe even health to some extent, are sort of trapped in a sort of a traditional type of business mindset.
Yeah, absolutely. The guy I work for is, kind of comes from the financial industry, and he's kind of used to that kind of work ethic, and I think you also see that around your office as well. But I think the flexible work style is kind of changing that, at least here in San Francisco.
I don't speak for my work office, just to make a note.
Yeah, I know.
No.
No, you don't want to do that. You're fired. Anyway,
this has nothing to do with my day job.
Yeah. Let's mention the name.
Make that clear.
I'll go ahead and mention the name. Really get used to it. But anyway, but with this expansion of co-working spaces, stuff like that. It's fascinating to watch this kind of like mobile lifestyle that we're now entering into, where you could answer an email while you're walking down the street on Mission Street to your train. You could do a lot of that. So, productivity has shifted. Now, if you go back to that 40, 50-hour work week, is a totally interesting concept the problem that you brought up. But that lifestyle has now kind of prompted us to get out of the office and work, right? Or on the way to work, in work, these Google, Facebook buses that come from San Francisco down, right? Genentech buses, whatever, equipped with Wi-Fi, allowing you to work on the way, right? So your work environment has really shifted, right? Away from this kind of like standard desk, get in at 9, leave at 6, unless you work at a retail store or a bank or something like that, to this other kind of mobile approach. And I think that's changed the way we kind of think about these productivity slumps that we go through.
Cool. Speed round.
Yeah,
all right, Greg. AndyOS. Let us know about
Yes, AndyOS. Well, yeah, I mentioned earlier that I had a great conversation with Sean Murphy of AndyOS, and we'll share the screen here of our article there. But I thought this was really fascinating, and it was a tough problem to solve, because you said, oh wow, streaming Android environments to the PC and Mac has been there for years. But what they have done is actually duplicated the experience. So like if you have a high res display on a mobile device, they've found ways of now bringing that high res experience, UI, UX, to your desktop. And just recently, I didn't even know about these guys. I was like, wow, really? And now 500 Mobile, 500 Startups, which is the subgroup is 500 Mobile Collective, it had originally invested in them. In fact, I think it was one of their first investments. And where what they've done recently is actually mapped Xbox and PS controllers to your PC. So it's going into this, I think, thing that we were talking about a few shows ago of seamless environment changes, right? Where you go from your mobile to your desktop landscape without really a big change, right? Because you want a bigger screen, you want to play your games on a bigger screen, makes a lot of sense. But I don't know, I think that's the shift we're seeing, is this kind of seamless environment, right? Going from your TV to your mobile to your desktop. I don't know. What do you think?
I think it's a speed round.
I think it's speed round. Let's go to StoreDot. All right.
StoreDot, yeah. So thanks to Gizmac for this one, and Heidi Hoops, if you will. Last year, StoreDot made news with its rapid charging smartphone battery that Israeli startup claimed it could be recharged in just 30 seconds. While hinting the technology could be scaled up for fast charging electric vehicles, after completing a full round of funding for new EV unit, StoreDot might just be able to deliver on its vision to EVs that can receive a full charge in just 5 minutes. So StoreDot's flash battery technology relies on nanodots, which are comprised of bioorganic peptides, whose raw materials are abundant in nature and also self-assemble, making for a more affordable product. It's really fascinating stuff. These form the basis of a multifunctional electrode that allows for supercapacitor-like rapid charging with a slow discharge, more like a lithium-ion batteries. So what's really neat about this is traditional supercapacitor technology is too big for consumer vehicles, having a very low energy to mass ratio. However, StoreDot claims to have solved the limitations of both supercapacitors and batteries with its hybrid solution without having to pick and choose between increased capacity, fast charging, or extended battery life. However, the phone battery technology is not expected on the market until next year at the earliest. It may be some time before we see the fruits of the vehicle research, and you want to look for this. It's really obviously super exciting for any of you like Tesla owners or any electric vehicles, which I hope to see very soon, so our planet stops dying quicker. That would be great. So fast charging as opposed to hours would be fantastic. So speed round. What's up, Greg?
Speed round. Well, hey, there's 7 unbelievable job titles that will exist in 10 years. So thanks to one of my Twitter followers for tweeting this one out. It was very fascinating. It's from Mashable, and we'll go ahead and share the old screen here real quick, so because it's a speed round, as my cohort just keeps on telling me. But hey, check out Digital Detox Therapist. That's interesting. Productivity counselor. It's all centered around tech. Urban Shepherd. Really kind of interesting. Tongue-in-cheek type of job titles, but it was something that kind of hit me when I was doing my class this week on humanizing the brand at Founderspace. We talked about kind of these fun titles that, like productivity ninja, production ninja, that type of thing, and how it's kind of humanized the whole titling system, right? Of kind of making it fun that you're the VP of customer performance, right. Customer experience, so. I think that was a great article that, check it out on the link there, but we know it's speed round. Let's go on to the next one. Smart bulb.
Smart bulb. So it seems like I can't go through a week without talking about the Amazon Echo. So let's keep that tradition alive and well. So here we see Chris Davies of SlashGear. Thanks for this story. Amazon is further opening up its Alexa voice control system, the engine, and at the heart of the Echo speaker to smart lighting companies, the Alexa Skills Kit, which launched back in June, breaking the cloud-based digital assistant out of the Echo and allowing it to be embedded in new devices and taught third-party skills. Now with a new Alexa lighting API, those skills are expanding to deal with more complex set of wireless bulbs. For instance, in addition to giving the turn on and turn off commands, users can now say things like, Alexa, brighten the bedroom light, or Alexa, dim the kitchen light. There's also support for more granular settings, like asking for 50% brightness. The API supports Java and JavaScript, which Amazon says should make for relatively easy integration. Meanwhile, the heavy lifting for things like voice recognition are all done on Amazon's side. It comes to Amazon's broadened support effort to existing smart home stuff, with Samsung-owned SmartThings is the latest one to join the Echo Club. However, it already has mastery over Philips Hue bulbs, and along with the Wink and the Belkin's Wemo. Importantly, Alexa isn't just limited to handling one lamp at a time. Multiple bulbs, such as the ones in those in a lounge, can be grouped together and treated as one. So Amazon's goal is to break Alexa free from the home of the Echo speaker and embed her widely, as they say, in a series of devices and third parties, with potential for voice recognizing alarm clocks through to more unusual gadgets and refrigerators, like refrigerators and even car dashboards, right? So this is sort of what I've been suspecting, is that, this thing is the Trojan horse. I think for people who get it, it becomes very sticky. I seem to want to use it more and more, and to fiddle with it, and to tie it into things like my SmartThings light switcher and things like that. So it's really exciting to see this type of technology seem to blossom.
Absolutely, my friend. Absolutely. That's pretty cool, actually.
Where are we at? Tip time, or what are we at?
Tip time. Yeah, let's go on. Let's go to tip time and Slack.
Tip time. Yeah, so my tip of the week, let's see if we go to it, is Slack. I know many of you have heard about this so far, but for those who haven't or want another refresher here, this is Slack. It's like a communication almost replacement for what traditionally has been used as like instant messaging or email to some extent. I wouldn't say replacement, but augments it. In my opinion, it replaces instant messaging, but email is still a nice sort of archiving type of thing, I guess, although Slack provides that. So go to slack.com, obviously, for more information. As they say here, the NASA Jet Propulsion Lab is one of the teams that have been using this
Cool.
Slack. It's really fantastic. The real strength of Slack, in my opinion, is, let's see, something called channels. And for me, it's been super interesting. So this is channels, right? So you can spin up all these things called channels, which are effectively topics, right? In a particular company or startup or multiple companies, where you can have discussions with multiple people in your teams that belong or subscribe to the various channels, and strictly on that topic, and it's all archived, and you see it all, who said what, which is really nice, as opposed to trying to get a thread with an email somewhere that may or may not be tagged on a particular subject. Obviously, you have the direct messaging capability, which is pretty straightforward, and you can create private groups for particular companies or departments or what have you. You can drag and drop stuff right onto it. It's all web-based, and actually they have desktop application as well as a mobile application, and it's really slick. It's very difficult to sort of articulate and describe. You just have to go and play with this thing to really understand why everyone is so excited about Slack. So I would highly encourage you all to do so. I believe there's a free tier and a let's see, yeah. So there's a free tier here, a standard tier. You see the prices here, and a plus and enterprise one coming soon. Very exciting to see what these guys are doing and how this is going to go forward and grow, and perhaps other competition that's going to provide this type of solution as well. So check them out. Go to Slack. I highly recommend you doing so.
Nice.
All right, Greg, your tip.
Well, I everyone gives me crap that we don't give enough love to the Microsoft users in our ecosystem. So I decided to publish the 100+ keyboard shortcuts thanks to SMQ on this, which is Microsoft Windows centric. and I think there's a bunch of these lists out there, but this one caught my eye, and I just wanted to show you that you too could be a keyboard ninja. With this article we have here, so I wanted to just kind of like share that with you guys. nothing earth shattering like Slack we had earlier, but I just wanted to kind of show some love to the Microsoft people. They don't get a lot of love these days. So anyway,
yeah.
Replace and for you Mac guys, replace Control with Command.
Yeah.
Anyway,
All right. Events.
Yeah.
Well,
the Founder Space Pitch Day is coming up this Thursday. We have a 25% nerdy discount for that. It's on Thursday from 3 to 5 o'clock. I know it's in the middle of your day, but usually in startup land,
that's how it goes.
That's the middle of the day. That's noontime to you and I in the normal work hours. So anyway, check out www.founderspace.com or go to our website and look for Founderspace and get your nerdy discount of 25%.
Yeah, man.
Hey, Dreamforce is coming up, huh?
We got Dreamforce, yeah. So Nerd Stalker is really proud to be associated with Dreamforce and the Dreamforce conference, Salesforce and Dreamforce conference that's coming to San Francisco September 15th through 18th. Highly recommend you guys check it out. Foo Fighters are playing there, the entertainment. What more can you say? Boom, there. And there's a ton of information for everyone, business people, technology people, educators. It's really an everyone type of conference with a surprising amount of depth and information, free information too. You can, if you can't pay for it, get a free expo pass, and just check it out and go educate yourself and meet some awesome stuff, get some free swag, meet some awesome people, and hopefully meet us and say hello. So I highly recommend you guys go check it out. Go to salesforce.com/Dreamforce/DF15 or just Google Dreamforce, and we hope to see you there.
Wow, that was cool. Anything else going on, or we're out of here?
That's all I got, buddy. But thank you everyone for watching and listening to this week's Nerd Stalker. And Greg, where can we get more information on you and what's happening with you?
Well, you can catch Greg Gloria at, let me get my finger on the right place, at Social Greg on Twitter, or you can email me at socialgreg@nerdstalker.com. I'd love to hear from you guys on new articles, new things, new people we need to interview. I'm all over the city interviewing people, so just send me a line. Thank you. Awesome. What about you, my friend Adolfo Fronda?
You can look for what I'm posting along with Greg at Nerdstalker on Twitter, or at aferonda is my Twitter handle. But check us out on YouTube. Go to YouTube/Nerdstalker TV. Go to iTunes. We're getting more of these podcasts up there, and give us a thumbs up if you're watching this below. Would be wonderful. And are we doing NRSDK, or what do you mean? If you guys want to contribute any stories on Twitter, #NRDSDK, NRDSDK, Nerd Stuck. So again, thank you everyone for watching and listening. We greatly appreciate it.
Yeah, we believe in tech, startups, design, and you. Thank you.
See you next week.